evaluation for this unit, so it's going to be a little bit longer. Okay, well, returning to that, well, good afternoon to everyone. Today we're going to talk about a relevant topic actually, because as we know, we are now in our digital age, um, and basically, as you can see it here, the theme is going to be basically how the you online compares to the you offline. What I expect is that by the end of this class, you'll be able to uh, criticize social media persons, personas like a pro, basically using advanced vocabulary and grammar, because that's what we're going to learn today also. And we're going to pass to the next slide. Here I'm going to ask if someone could answer these questions. The first question, you can open your microphone. The first question is, what do you understand by digital identity? I'm sure that is not a new topic, because maybe you heard about that in your schools or in another context. So someone could raise their hand to talk, and I'm going to take it into account for participation. So please, who can answer the first question or the next question, or if you want both, um, you can open your microphone to answer that. The next question is, what is the impact of your social media image on your professional or personal life? Okay, if someone could answer that, or if not, I'm going to choose randomly. Um, if there are no volunteers, I'm going to choose randomly. Okay. hmm Elena, if you could, if you could open your microphone, or you, if you don't have your microphone, you can also write the answers in the chat. Any of the questions, just write the answer. And if anyone else would like to answer that, you can do it now. Ah, you're sick. Um, me too. Okay. Okay, so you can write it in the chat here. If you cannot talk, you can write it in the chat. Just a short answer for the first question, for example, or the second question. And meanwhile, Elena is uh, writing her answer. Anyone would like to say something about those questions? I don't know. Hey, Marines, you can open your microphone.
Good afternoon. I understand like digital identity, like the online profile that someone have and presents to the world through social media or digital platforms.
Okay. Okay, very good. Yes, it's basically that. I'm sure. I think that you've heard about uh, digital identity in other contexts, but we're going to pass to the next slide. Okay, this is going to be the topics for today. Firstly, I'm going to ask a quickly warm up for this activity. Next, we're going to talk about the vocabulary, digital identity terms, and all of that. Next, grammar, and also we're going to make an activity of speaking at the end. And we're going to wrap up with the phrasal verbs, idioms, and as you know, as I mentioned, I was going to upload a writing homework at the end, but that will be after class. Okay. Um. First, we have here um we're going to describe now like our identity or online persona using three emojis and also one sentence. For example, here we have the example where you're going to use three emoji combinations, and you can write it now um, in the chat box. You can leave your answers there. There's one example. There's one example. You can choose three emojis, and you can, I don't know, give an example, make a sentence about this topic, but related to the emojis you've chosen. So I'm waiting. Uh, for the activity is short, 3 minutes only. Just write it in the chat box, and I'm going to register your participation, and then we're going to pass to the explanation of the grammar vocabulary. Okay? So you send it via chat, and I registered your participation also. Mm, if I didn't make myself clear, um, you can. Okay, I think there are some answers there. Yes, Justin, but also the sentence. If you're going to sending out your sentence, the example must be complete like that in the screen. You see the emojis and also, for example, a short case. You can also make a fake scenario there. Anything related to the emojis, but related to the topic. Okay. Yes. Great. I'm gonna give you um 1 more minute, I think, 1 more minute, and then we're going to pass to the next slide. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, Elena. Very good. Yes, so we're going to the next slide. I think that was enough time. Um, Welcome, Luana. I think you just joined the meeting. Okay, then the next slide. Yes. This is basically a digital identity lexis about the about some vocabulary that is useful for this kind of topics. Of course, as we can see here, there are some nouns, verbs, adjectives. This is already well, this vocabulary is already a B2 plus, I will say, or C1 vocabulary. um I think that, and because I know that some of that you already heard. I don't know, like ghost or aesthetic. I know you heard it online and all of that, but it has also a meaning. It's not just I say it because I say it. No, it has also a meaning. Um I have here the other meanings we're going to read in a moment. But first, I want you to search information online about the synonyms of some of the words. Um, and you can choose any of these words, and whether a noun, verb, or adjective. You can choose neither of them. Whether of them, you can. Well, I will ask you to search information in the web, and then you're going to open your microphone and discuss about the meaning and and also the synonyms for that word. Um, how many minutes will you need for that? I think I wrote here 10 minutes, but I think that's a little bit too much. So okay, Paloma, also. Um, or if you already know some of the meanings of these words, you can open your microphone and you can just mention the meaning and explain the complete meaning and the synonyms of that word. And if not, I'm going to give you now 5 minutes. I think that's enough. 5 minutes to um, complete this activity. Uh, yes. So basically that you have to. If you have any question now, or you want me to explain anything, you can write it in the chat, raise your hand. Okay. So yes, I give you 5 minutes to search information about any of these words, and then okay, yeah, I will put the timer here. You can now search some of the words. Uh, One or two are enough, and then I'm going to ask you for participation. Okay, and there's any questions, you can open your microphone and and tell me. Okay. Okay, so if I know it's been only 3 minutes, I think, but if someone has an answer, you can you can raise your hand to participate. Remember that you can tell the meaning of any word. Okay, ideal. Hmm, aesthetic. Yes, I think of those words, aesthetic is the most common, or perfect. Yes, it's basically, well, aesthetic is basically perception. Perception. It depends on your perception. But if someone, thank you, Justin. If someone else has um, wants to participate, you can raise your hand to talk about the meaning and the synonyms of any of these words. Any of these words. Obviously, now not aesthetic because Justin already talked about it. So, is there any volunteer to? Is there any volunteer to answer to this activity? I think someone joined. Okay. Okay. Yes. To ghost is like to say ignore. Yes. Okay. Very good, Justin. I noticed that until now, no one is talking about the nouns, some of these nouns. Um. Okay, Macarena. In an addictive way. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, Macarena. That's right. Okay. No one. I think everyone is answering via chat. So if you don't want to speak now, you can write it down there in the chat box. I'm gonna give you one more minute if you want to raise your hand and give an explanation of anything of that. You can do it. So one more minute and we are going to pass. Wait a moment. Okay. Mhm. But Bragg is like to say. Okay. Yes, Paloma. That's right. Okay. So that is basically the meaning that I had here on the next slide. Well, yes, it's basically that. If you can read it, or I will choose someone. If you want to read first the nouns, then the verbs, and then the adjectives, I would like three volunteers for that. Only to read. Only to read. Um. Okay, Paloma. If you could read first the sky blue ones, the three first.
Okay, teacher. Finsta or fake Instagram.
Mhm.
A secret secondary Instagram account where users share unfiltered or private content, usually with close friends.
Mhm.
Doom scrolling, obsessively scrolling through bad news or negative content online, often leading to anxiety. Oversharing, revealing excessive or inappropriate personal information beyond acceptable or on online platforms.
Okay. Yes, that's basically. I think you. Yes, you wrote. Yes, very good. Thank you. Um. This is basically that. So I don't think there's any questions about that. Okay, if you want, I don't know, an example or something like that. Um. Well, for the first is in the case of Finsta, okay, if you want to talk about it, you could say, I don't know, I I post, I don't know, this kind of hair pictures of my Finsta for close friends. You're going. This is basically a vocabulary that are used by natives. One, it's more like an idiom actually, more like an idiom, and it's like a mixed word that you see here is in general is fake Instagram. That's the complete word, but you can just reduce it to say Finsta. Also, drum scrolling is actually a noun, yes, but it also can be used as a verb, and oversharing also can be used as a verb. I think I think you can yes I think you can remember those words because uh, for example oversharing you can divide that word into over and sharing basically that. And if someone else wants to read the next line of the verbs, you can raise your hand or I can choose. And very good, Paloma, also. Thank you. If someone wants to participate now, wait. For example, Macarena. Macarena, are you there? No, Macarena is not there. No, what a pity. Okay. Well, I'm going to read it then. And I think someone raises their hand. Okay, it's okay, Macarena, don't worry. Well, this next verb is basically the process of adding geographic location data to various forms of media, such as photos, videos, or social media posts. Is basically when you upload a picture to your Instagram account, you can always like put it in, I think, under the title, something like that. You can put it the place and where you are in that photo. So it's basically that. To humble brag, I think someone wrote it that in the chat that it was basically that. Um, when you're trying basically to appear modest, well, actually you are boasting your positive attributes. As you know, I know you maybe you know that kind of people that they basically say something like that, like, no, I'm not so good, I'm not good enough in doing that, but at the end they do it. I don't know if you ever meet that kind of people, but that's basically the action of doing that. So there's an action for that in English. And also to ghost, I think you all know that when you say ghostear, and it's basically that when you went a relationship or you just stop communication without any explanation, someone says in the chat, you ignore another person and you essentially disappear. You don't make any other contacts and something like that. Also aesthetic, I think everyone heard about that, but if I ask you to define that, something like that, maybe you couldn't you couldn't answer correctly. I know that someone in the chat said that it was like perfect, something like that. Say the expected. But yeah, it's basically that. But it's like something visually pleasing, something that you are seeing and you're like, oh, okay, it's good, it's good. It looks perfect. Like so it causes in you a lot of satisfaction. And well, it can be described also as a personal style, as you know, some of that pose in the media, you can say, oh, that's so aesthetic, something like that. Well, you're describing that something like a personal style. In this case, also you can describe a specific art movement, or and is this is based in the appreciation of the beauty, basically on your perception. So it depends of how can you use it. Also, algorithm driven, it's how can it be controlled something by the platform. For example, I don't know I don't, if you ever saw or liked a video of what? A video of of pets or cats. You like that video, and automatically the algorithm will say, "Oh, okay, this person likes a lot this kind of content, so I'm going to give to them more of that." So it's basically that when I don't know your Instagram, you can say something like your my Instagram is now is algorithm driven because it's appearing a lot of personalized ads or a lot of posts about the same team that you liked before. And also the final one is hyper visible. I think that's something easier because it's basically the when someone is extremely exposed. uh, in this case, if we talk about the online people, if that person is hyper visible, if is exposed to a lot of people online, maybe due the fame or oversharing. For example, all the famous singers, actors are hyper visible if they have only if they had an account or something like that. Okay, but first, I don't if there's another a question about that, because I think I'm going to upload again this material to the classroom because I this is the new one. I add this slide recently, so there's I don't know if there's any questions. You can raise your hand to make the question, or you can write it in the chat also. So is everything is clear until now? Uh, okay, okay, Paloma.
Teacher, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
In what case, how to know in what case use these words?
Okay, this is basically when you're speaking or maybe when you're writing. I will say that some of the words like most commonly used in well that are in this slide. It could be oversharing, go to ghost, aesthetic, imprevisible, something. This when you familiarize with English, you're going to use that when you're talking about this team, specifically about this topic, because you're not going to talk about oversharing with your, I don't know, talking about cooking or something like that. No, when you're talking about technology or social media, uh, I don't know, in your school, something like that, it's a good way to use these words, and it will give you a plus also because, as I said, these words are not like um, A2 B1. These are basically B2 C1, something like that. Okay, but basically, I think the rest it could be more used in uh, when you're doing writing, because when you're doing writing, I know that well, there are some people that when they are writing in their exams, um, they can, I don't know, write the words like they were speaking. But basically, in my personal experience, I noticed that when I'm writing my exams and something like that, um, I have a richer vocabulary when I'm writing than when I'm speaking. And maybe when I'm speaking, I get nervous, something like that. But when you're writing, you can think about it more, and you can use some of the words like humble brag, hypervisible, thin stuff. But basically, um, you're not going to decide like one day, oh, okay, I'm going to use those words. No, um, basically, when you're talking about the topic, you can say that when only to replace some words. If you don't know how to say, I don't know, for example, when you talk about this verb to ghost, instead of saying all of that, the oh, that person was talking with her, and then he ignored her, and now she doesn't know about him anymore. No, just directly you use the word. It will help you to reduce information also. So it's basically that when you familiarize with the language, you when you're just talking, you use those words, and you won't even notice that you're using that. But that's with the time. That's with a lot of process. I don't. I think I answered your question. Uh, no, thanks to you. Okay, I don't think there is. If there is any other question, there's no I there's no any other question. I think. So I'm going to pass to the next slide. Oh, okay. Okay. Uh, Here we have a little bit of the grammar for that because we already saw the vocabulary. Well, the grammar for that is the modal verbs, as you know about the modal verbs. As I mentioned the last class, they are like should, could, can't, must, would, will, everything of everything of that. So basically, the modal verbs for online safety. I related some of the modal verbs about this topic. The first one it will be like an advice. Um, I don't know. When you use should, as I mentioned the last class, I think um, should is like a must, like a kind of obligation, but lower in a lower level. There's a lot of difference between must and should because must should is like as it says there is like an advice, a recommendation. For example, you should use a pseudonym in this way to write not to write your real name in some of your names of social media, something like that. That's a fake scenario. I don't know if anyone uses the real name, but it's not bad also. But only for the example, um, as we as if anyone knows that, but I'm explaining it anyways. As we know, should and must are different because should is more related to an advice, a recommendation, like a kind of when a kind of a small obligation, but must is already an obligation or a prohibition. In this case, it will be a prohibition. You mustn't or must not share passwords, something like that. Um, Something that I want to mention right now is that for your exams, I don't know you take if you take the English course in your schools or universities, colleges, but I recommend you that told me my teacher that I recommend you to in your in your writings when you have writing exams, writing tests, you use um you don't use contractions. Okay, what is a contraction? Contractions is basically that what I wrote here, mustn't. That's a contraction when you put in one word these two words. Uh, when you say couldn't, uh, can't, won't, that's a contraction. I recommend you to that in your writing exams, writing text, you use the separated form, or it depends of the test. If the test is, I don't know, writing a personal letter or an email, something like that, it's a little bit, it's more informal, so you can use contractions. But if there's, I don't know, a formal letter, I don't know, a proposal, something like that, you I recommend you to use this type of grammar, because it's more formal actually to use, to do not use contractions. Uh, okay, but returning to the topic, here I have an example of a risky post, something like that. Posting your location is fun, but you shouldn't post your location, something like that. I'm going. Uh, this is another activity that I'm going to give you also 5 minutes. 5 minutes, I think that's more than enough. Um, to write something like that, something like the example I wrote here. Something like the example, and you're going to use any of those modal verbs, or you can use another one, like an advice, like giving an advice or a prohibition related to online safety. Um, and you can open your microphone, or you can write it. Better if you write it on the chat box. Um, there's the example. Okay, there's the example. So I'm gonna give you, yes, yes, the 5 minutes to complete that. Only one sentence, like in the example. I I wrote there, posting your location is fun, but in the other line you write, you shouldn't post your location, something like that, related to online safety or social media in general. Um, using the modal verbs, of course. Um, so I'm gonna give you 5 minutes for this activity. Okay, wait a moment. Mhm. Remember, only one sentence, like the example, and you send it via chat. Mm. Okay, and also I think the Model Serio Academy sent a Google form So you can complete it now, or once the class is over, you can complete that form. I'm going to send also at the end I'm going to send the same form so you can complete it for the assistants. So don't worry. Um okay, I think there here we have 3 more minutes to complete this activity. So it's only with an hypothetical situation. So mhm, and okay. Uh, Something that I want to mention also, I didn't uh, write it down there. I forgot, I think. But as I mentioned, should is for advice, mustn't is for prohibition. But also another modal verb, it will be. I'm going to send that to the chat. Wait a moment. This is another modal verb. It's it's not common, but it's people don't usually use that while speaking. Mostly when in writing. Mostly in writing they use that. Um, Up to is like a strong suggestion. It's like a recommendation, but a strong recommendation, like stronger than should. So yes, sometimes English is so confusing. Okay, just thank you, Justin, for your answer. Um, yes, as I said, English sometimes is so confusing with these model verbs and all of that. But when you're already familiarized with the language, you can use it in a natural way. I noticed that. Okay, if I noticed that if when you already know more about the language, you when you're talking with any person or talking with yourself, you use those the vocabulary or the grammar and in a natural way. Um. Okay. 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 That. Okay. Okay. We're going to pass to the next. There's no more answers here, I think. Okay. And now I'm going. I only heard that. I don't know if there's any other person that has their microphone or can open their microphone, because this is basically an activity. Uh, well, it's a speaking activity that is going to count for your final results. So It's basically the expectation versus city. Okay. Okay, Paloma. Okay. Well, as I was explaining, this is um yes, like it's like a short debate. Um, it's like mini debate. Expectation versus authenticity. Basically answering these questions. Is Instagram lying or is storytelling? If you don't know what is storytelling, it's basically telling the real history. Uh, like yes, telling the real story, like documenting your life in Instagram. In this case, in Instagram. And the next question is, can you be yourself and still get followers? Mm, well, I'm going to ask for maybe two or four people that want to participate now. Um, one one person must be obviously agree with well, must be in one side, and the other person must take the other perspective. Um, so here I have some of the language support because uh, for initiating your opinion, there's a lot of options. As you see here, you can say at the beginning, from my perspective, as far as I'm aware, as far as I'm concerned, also speaking for myself in my reckoning. This is basically the formal way, and this is the informal ways. I'm not going to ask you for uh, any of those. You can use any. You can use whatever you want right now. So I'm I'm going to ask if for participation now of you, or you can, if I can give you some minutes to, I don't know, make think about your answers or write it down, and then you can answer. You can open your microphone and answer. Um, okay, okay. But first, who would like to participate for this activity? Remember that no one is going to judge because we're not here for judge you. So who would like to participate for that? And if there's no volunteer, I'm going to choose also any other person. Okay, I'm going to choose any person to answer those questions. Wait a moment. Okay. Okay. First, I think I'm going to give you some minutes, like I don't know how many, maybe 5 minutes to write down your answers, think about your answers, and then I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask them because we're not a lot of people, so I'm going to ask for participation. So yes, I'm giving you 5 minutes to complete or to think about your answers because this is a spoken participation. Um. So yes, 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. I think that's enough. Or you need more. I don't know because this is the last. Yeah, this is maybe the last activity. one of the last activities for this session. So yes, I'm giving you 5 minutes to think about your answers, and then I'm asking for participation. If you have any questions, and you just raise your hand or write in the chat. Okay. 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 So well, now 4 minutes. 4 minutes to think about your answers, and then I'm going to ask for participation. Okay, returning to the meeting. Mm, I don't know if there are some volunteers to answer these two questions. Um, or if there is not, I'm gonna ask for participation. Um, First, there's no one that wants to participate orally. I don't know. You don't need to give a long answer, not only to give you to tell you posture about that. Mm, okay, I don't think that there's any. I think there are no volunteers right now, so I'm going to choose first. Uh, okay, I know that I think Macarena is cannot talk because she's in a place with a lot of people. So okay, I'm going to choose randomly. I don't know. Um, maybe okay, Angelina. I think Angelina Perez, right? I don't know if you can open your microphone, or if not, you can also write your answers. But first, tell me if you're present. Tell me you're present in the meeting. I don't. I don't think Angelina is here. Okay, I cannot. I cannot see her. Okay. Yeah, Marines, you can talk.
Thank you. I want to answer the second question. In my opinion, I think that you can be yourself and get followers at the same time because I think that the authenticity of in your uh, in your online identity is the key to building a loyal audience and followers. And I think that the truth of yourself and how are you? I think that that is what your followers appreciate more.
Okay, and Marines, you think that in general, you think that Instagram is lying or is telling the real history of people in general?
Well, I think that is storytelling.
Okay, thank you. Um, thank you, Marines. Marines Hilary. Three names. Wow. Okay, and thank you. There's any other person that wants to participate? Um, wait a moment. Okay. Okay, Paloma, you can open your microphone.
Um, um, Answering the second question, uh, can you be yourself and still get followers? Speaking for myself, I think that if you show you the real person that you are, the way you are, um, the persons that will follow you uh, for the person that you are, and not for the person that you show you in social media. So if you show you that the way you are, I think that uh, they could follow you. Um, and that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paloma. That was great. Don't worry. Um, okay, that was pretty great, actually. Thank you. Um, okay, that we're not going to do that because we're going to pass to the next. Because I am also going. Well, this is a fun fact, also that I included here. And it was basically that on average, individuals have around 70 different digital identities spread across various online platforms. Well, basically, I wanted just to mention that. So okay, yes, I was only going to mention that because then we're going to pass to this phrasal verbs. I think I also presented some. I also exposed something like that in the last session. Session, yes. Um, Basically, as I mentioned the in the session one, phrasal verbs are, well, obviously they are verbs, but um, often with two words, only two words, and they don't mean well the literal. They don't have a literal meaning. For example, you ever heard about the when someone says turn on the lights? Uh, okay, turn is turn is like when you're turning, like you're moving, something like that is different for what they are asking you to do. So here we have some phrasal verbs that are, well, I have here log off, set up, scroll past, block out, filter out, open up, face out, and check in. The, well, basically here we have the meaning. um okay, I'm not going to read that today, but this is in the classroom, so if you want to check this, you can check out this in the classroom. So yes, and well, the next is the idiomatic expressions. As I said in the last session, the idiomatic expression, there, if you speak and you apply some of the idiomatic expressions, your English will sound more natural actually. For a native speaker, if in your conversation you use some of the idiomatic expressions, and your speaking will notice more natural actually, because as here as here in Peru we have our own idiomatic expressions, our own idioms, that in this case it will be in Spanish, it will be jergas. And as we have that in here in Peru in the Spanish language, also there is a lot of these kind of expressions in, well, in English speakers. So here I have some of the idioms that I recollected. Well, for instance, behind the screen, then fall into the rabbit hole. This is actually pretty popular because I saw it in a lot of writings. So yes, and also in audios. Next, we have keep up appearances, a double-edged sword, and break the internet. Something that I want to mention now is I think the most commonly used, or the most easier to remember, um, is basically behind the screen, because it's basically a literal meaning, because behind the screen, when you are now being and you are like invisible, so you're anonymous. That's literally the meaning of that, anonymous or hidden. In this case that we're talking about, online people, behind the screen, or behind the screen of your phone, it could be, well, anonymous or hidden online. And then fall into the rabbit hole is get lost in something, thinking about something. uh, okay. Okay, yes, about that. And then the next is keep up appearances. I think that could be also easy to remember. I think this one um it's not easy to remember, only just to with expanding your vocabulary, you could remember, you will I will be able to remember this easy more easily, because as it says here, a double-edged sword, something with both pros and cons. What is a double-edged sword? I don't know if someone knows that, but I'm going to tell about it. Well, basically, a sword, what is? A sword in Spanish is espada. Okay, double edge, what is like the end of something, like mm, in Spanish, un borde, the borderline, something like that. And double, well, double is doble. So basically, in Spanish, this a double-edged sword, it will mean um, una espada con dos puntos, algo así, algo así. Y creo que es, well, I think that's pretty common in Spanish because, well, that's what I think that it would be easier to remember that if you expand your vocabulary and break the internet. I think that's pretty common in social media, cause a massive online attention. So yes, and well, finishing with this session, I'm going to create homework, a homework in the classroom. Um, that it will be a writing, homework and reflection. It will be an argument basically of 150 words to 250 words argument. You can write the limit. The minimum is 150 and the maximum is 250. So you can write it. You can write it in a document, in a Google Doc, so you can count the words there and answering these questions. Should schools teach digital identity? I'm going to create. I'm going to create it now because I think I already have it like I already have like a draft of that. Wait a moment. Okay. The task is going to be in the Unit 1, Session 2 in the classroom. That is, yes. Um, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to end this presentation. Okay, I think Paloma, you have a question or you forgot to put
No,
down your
teacher, I
hand.
forgot to.
Okay, okay, don't worry. Just wait a moment. I'm going to this. Okay, wait a moment. There are still some minutes for the class to finish. So, can you confirm if you can see my screen of classroom? Because I'm creating all the tasks. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, this is going to be the task of this session. I don't think well, I'm going to make it quickly. So I'm going to upload that. Here are the instructions. You can write it via Google Docs or handwritten, but I think that no one will everyone will do it by Google Docs because it's easier. Um, Here's the structure. Basically, it's a paragraph, an argument. Normal as you do it in Spanish, you will do it now, but in English. Okay, you will answer that questions. I Here is the question, if you can see it, and here we have the structure. First, the introduction, also where you state your position, your thesis, something like that. You state your posture. Then in the body, you're going to give. Okay, I'm going to delete that. Okay, you're going to give reasons plus examples or facts about your position to support your position. Okay, I'm explaining basically the same as your teachers, I think, but okay, you're going to use the vocabulary that we learned in this class, like things that we're sharing. This for example, you can say many teenagers create a finsta, and you start to explain. Additionally, oversharing can lead to, I don't know, can lead to a negative impact, to danger, something like that. You explain, and that's why it's important for schools to teach about uh, the digital identity. You write it something like that, okay? It would be like two, three arguments maybe. I'm not asking a lot because it's short actually. And then the conclusion. The conclusion, you restate your position, your opinion. Yes, here we have some language tools. If you want to use phrasal verbs, you can use it. If you want to, well, you will use modal verbs, because there's no a sentence without modal verbs in the majority of sentence. And also you can use the opinion phrases like that we learned in class from my perspective, in my reckoning, all of that, in my opinion. So I'm going to submit it now, and okay, you can upload your task until next week, and then I'm going to revise and send your score. Okay, okay, we have 8 minutes, so I'm not going to share my screen now. I have the material here, but I'm not going to share it now because I want it to be a surprise for the next class. The next class, I will take more minutes because we're going to make session 3 and 4, and also the evaluation for the unit. So basically the next session is going to be about danger situations, um critical situations, crisis thinking, something like that. What would you do in a crisis? In a crisis. Okay. That would be all for today, I think, because the next class it will be focused on that. Next class, that class, it would have been today, but um things happens. People get sick as me, so yes, the next session we're going to make a very not short, but I'm going to wrap up everything to make it a little bit shorter than I thought. So yes, we're going to basically next session uh, review what is crisis thinking and how can grammar. We're going to see past perfect, conditionals, survival strategies, all of that. So I think that will be all for today.